Hello and welcome to the OGYS podcast. I am joined today, Justbearable aka Tim, by Apollon1804 aka Carl,
So,
IxMitsuki aka Tristan,
Me, bitch.
and Salmanity aka Lalo. Okay, cool. So he's just not gonna. That's gonna be a thing from now on. Make it really hard.
that's his thing.
Make it
It's just
really.
not.
Make it really hard for me to sync. Gotcha.
No, it's me.
You already have the 5, 3,
yeah,
1,
yeah, I
2,
know, I know.
4. Shit.
Okay, so.
Yep, what more do you want?
Hopefully this time around everything will sound a little bit better. Everybody's webcams are almost working. Since I'm recording with the video system, my webcam overrides my Discord, so they can't see me, but everybody else can. So that's fine. We're going to be talking about the COVID-19 situation right now, and just kind of get some general thoughts now that it's been fucking, 2 months, basically, since this whole thing's happened? Right, guys?
Sounds about right.
Something like that. I don't know. The days just meshed together anymore. So, yeah, I was on Netflix the other day watching Tiger King, like everybody's done. Fantastic
Can't
show.
say I have.
Absolutely, it's hilarious. It's
Yeah.
hilarious. You all seriously need to watch it whenever you get a chance. And there was another docu-series that I saw that was talking about the pandemic of the Spanish influenza of 1918. Now, do you all know much about that at all?
Well, I know the second wave killed like 6 million more than the first wave did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. It really did. It's actually crazy to think about. And the reason why the second wave happened was because the war had just ended.
Opened too soon.
Yeah, and everybody opened up back too soon.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, it's almost like history's on repeat. What? That's crazy.
What? History repeating itself? Isn't history to stop that?
Nah. It's just, I will say.
I mean, to be fair, I don't ever remember anything in school dealing with the Spanish flu. I remember talking about the plague. I do not remember talking about the Spanish flu.
Yeah, I mean, we hardly even discussed World War One. Everything in school, especially history-wise, especially history-wise, was based more around the American Revolution, the Civil War, World War II, if we ever talked about anything with Europe, and imperialism and colonialism and all that fun stuff. There was not much really talked about the Spanish influenza, which I think kind of is bad, because now a lot of people don't know what's happened in the past necessarily unless they go and research it and look it up, which nobody ever does their research anymore. Nobody ever decides to look up their own stuff.
Nobody's big brain anymore.
Nobody got that 4 head, they got that 5 head. Or the 2 head, whichever one's worse. I forget which is worse. I think the 2 head is the worst. Like, the more heads you go on Twitch, I think is better. So, like, a 5 head is better than a 4 head. But a 2 head is terrible.
Big brain.
Yeah, big brain. Stonks.
Funks.
So, now that we know a little bit behind... This man over here just loaded up Rocket League. I see it now. I see it on this webcam.
It
just showed up.
Playing Rocket
It
League.
just showed up on the Discord that he's now playing Rocket League. So yeah, it's kind of weird to think about how history just tends to repeat itself from time, especially if we, don't learn from our past mistakes. But the main thing that I want to talk about this is conspiracy theories over COVID-19, because everybody loves a good conspiracy theory. So, what is the wildest one that you all have heard of while this whole situation has been going on? Any day now, boys.
Like,
Honestly, bro, I haven't heard any.
You haven't heard about
I don't think you understand. We're under quarantine.
You all haven't...
The only thing I've heard is China released it to get their population down. And that sounds pretty damn true. So,
I mean, I will say this: there have been. How do I say this? There have been some medical professionals and people who have done research in the field that have said, like, look, there's no way this virus mutated naturally. It has occurred in a lab. And then, due to possible safety measures not being taken, that it had escaped, which I could totally see being a thing. But as for it being purposely released, I don't know about that much. I'm kind of like hesitant to accept that aspect of it. Do I think it?
Alright, I got a wedding.
Alright.
Alright. So I watch a lot of weeaboo shit and a lot of stupid shit. Alright, so what if someone from the future came back in time at this very moment, released COVID-19, or didn't release it, but made the release of it possible? That the one incident where it gets released out in Wuhan and it's out. Alright, say one guy releases it from the future to prevent a lot of shit that was gonna happen. For like instance, we know the ozone layer, like that was like what, 1 million kilometers square or whatever. That closed up. Something else happened that was good for the environment. I don't remember what.
Sea turtles are laying eggs on the beach.
See, alright. Like a bunch of environment, like resources are starting to restore itself from this negative impact that we've caused it.
So you're saying
due to the pandemic outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just what we know. So imagine this one thing being released stopped things now, stops things 5 years from now, stops things for 10 years from now. It's just causing a butterfly effect to possibly save the earth.
Okay, I could see how something along those lines could happen. I could see that. My thing is that it's always the age-old question where if like time travel exists, does it affect the universe that person is from, or does it affect an alternate universe that is from a different timeline? So then that begs the question, why would somebody go back and not even save their own timeline, but attempt to save, not even necessarily save, a different timeline?
Well, if there's parallel universes, different timelines, whatever you want to call it, there has to be that one integer that makes it different from the rest of the timelines. So
I am inevitable.
pretty much it's the inception, and him going back, even if he knows it's not saving his timeline, he knows he's saving another timeline.
Yeah, I get what
In
you're
the
saying.
sense, it would still be the same, more or less, but just the future he knows it's not going to affect the immediate people. It's going to affect it in a totally different universe.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Give me a second. I actually have to pull something up. Because I didn't find, my parents showed me a video from, what was it called? It was some news channel on YouTube where, from what I can tell, they don't seem to be sponsored by, any political parties. They could be, but I just didn't notice it at first glance. They had a woman on there who was apparently had ties to the dude that's next to Donald Trump all the time, doing all the speeches and talking about the outbreak and how we can contain this pandemic by basically doing quarantine. I'm trying to think of that man's name right now.
The vice president?
No, it's not the vice president. He's the
Is it the health guy?
yeah, it's the health guy. I can't think of what his name is, and I'm having trouble finding it right now. Is this him? Alex Azar does not sound like the name. Yeah, no, I can't find it. But there's this woman who has apparently had some interactions with him inside of the professionals academic world, where they constantly do research over certain topics and the like. And she noted how he was very like bullying, manipulative, and would print out fake and push fake papers to support his claims while shutting down other people's research that would deny his claims about what is happening. I think the one
So
that
he's
she...
just a phony.
Yeah, essentially. He's...
Phony.
Essentially what he's doing is he's shaping the word to fit his agenda more than to actually help people. Allegedly.
So he's like Hitler.
Okay, well, we're not going to go that far.
I mean, you
let's
can't make
be
that
real.
comparison.
Yeah.
You can't. There was a point in the newscast which had said that she was, or that this dude was, it was basically taking medical science and turning it from medical science and research into a propaganda. So I could see a little comparison between the two, but I'm just trying to not be that comparative right away, because after learning about that, and there's like this whole corruption in the government thing. We know the government's been corrupt for forever. There's not really much we can do about that other than try to elect new officials who hopefully won't become corrupt.
Oh.
What were you gonna say, Carl?
I laughed.
Oh, you laughed?
I laughed at the fact that we can elect brand new people.
Yeah, that is true. That is the one weird thing about the U.S., man. We have... It's just so weird to think about.
There's no true democracy in a world with this much population.
Yeah. Yeah, the closest we can get is a representative republic, which is what we're supposed to have, but I feel like there's so many issues in the way that people are picked for the candidacies for their parties, or the people are elected by certain districts from gerrymandering and stuff.
I feel like our representatives should be like required to have like 5-10 years of ethics and like stupid shit, like stuff to prove that they're a good person that's not some selfish tyrant trying to push his theologies on us.
Yeah, and I can understand that. I can definitely understand that, because people today, especially, there's a famous saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. I forget where that saying's from. I just remember that because it's true. That's why people...
Sounds like some Roman shit to me.
Sounds like some what? Roman shit? Is that what you said?
Roman shit.
Roman shit. I'm actually... I'm at a computer. I might as well look it up. That's another thing that I don't understand. Total power corrupts. Or no, absolute power. That's what it is. Is that so many people have, access to this infinite database of knowledge. It's
Definitely
a quote.
not a Roman.
Nope, it's a quote by John Dalberg Acton. He was a historian and politician. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men, even when they exercise influence and not authority. Still more when you superadd the tendency or the certainty of corruption by authority. So, basically it's this thing where we're putting people into power who, aren't really there to help others, and by the time they get there, even if they are there to help others, then they get surrounded by this atmosphere of just absolute toxicity, and it's just I could imagine if there are any straight and narrow politicians in Washington that, you know, it would be really hard for them to stay on the straight and narrow and not accept bribes from like lobbyists to help fund their campaign to be reelected for the next year. So it's one of those things where my parents were shocked that, you know, this corruption had been going on and so close to the U.S. Like Department of Justice, basically. And I just looked at it and was like, I don't see why you all are shocked about this. It's been an issue for years. Think back to whenever Kennedy was assassinated. There were plenty of people that believe Lyndon B. Johnson had a hand in it, so that way he could be promoted to president. There are people that believe 9/11 was an inside job, you know?
It was.
See, there's one.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a dumbass right there.
There he is.
You said it, not me.
Yep, I'm just going along with it because it was funny.
It was very funny. But yeah, it's so wild to think about all the possibilities of corruption in our government that people don't really tend to think about. Publishing fake science, I could see them 100% doing that. Taking control
That's
of
like
media
the moon
outlets.
landing.
Oh my god, the moon landing was not fake.
Apparently we were the first one laying on the moon.
Bruh. It would have cost more to reproduce a moon landing and fake a moon landing than it would to actually send someone to the moon.
It says you.
No, there's
It says who?
I hurt.
Oh, my brain.
It hurts.
This dumbassery hurts.
We will do an entire episode based on what conspiracy theories we personally believe in. Is there any?
To be fair, the people in 9/11, like each and every one of them was on a watch list, and the Boston bombing guys, they were also on a watch list.
Okay, what do you mean?
I'm
They
just
were
saying,
on the
like,
FBI watch list.
yeah, they already knew about him and everything, and then like,
Well, it's the same thing.
it just seems kind of
the
suspicious.
same-
Like they're all on a plane, like, yeah, get it, guys.
It's the same thing that happened with Pearl Harbor back in 1942. The U.S. knew that Japan was gonna strike at some time. They just didn't know when and where. Little did they know, a couple of days later, the Japanese had already sent their ships over and launched aircraft in order to attack and destroy a couple of our, what was it, aircraft carriers? And
Oh no, they didn't get a single aircraft carrier.
that's what. Okay.
Have y'all seen that picture?
Yeah.
Have y'all seen the picture where the kamikaze had actually struck the side of the ship and
it just
left a mark?
Yeah, it left the burn mark.
Well, that was a battleship. That was the HMS something or another, and it had, if I remember correctly, almost 30 inches of side armor.
Yeah, nothing.
That's
that
awesome.
a
So
plane.
you take an aluminum plane and smash it into, because that wasn't a kamikaze. That was a fighter pilot going down that crashed into it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't packed full of explosives.
Yeah.
I can't wait to
Just
fly
you
a
know,
plane
jet
into
fuel
a
doesn't
ship.
burn, still beams.
Oh my god.
Well, it wasn't jet fuel in 1944.
All right, we're talking about 9/11 now. Let's go.
All right.
we will talk about this on another time. I actually had something else that came to mind.
Well, Pearl Harbor, there is only 3 battleships that went down.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them were cruisers and smaller ships.
Okay. I knew there was like a lot of small ships that went down, and there were a couple big ships, but the main thing was that they didn't attack our Navy rebuilding yard, our Navy stockyard, or whatever I think it's called.
They did.
They
did hit
still
it.
got new.
They hit the airfield. See, what they did is they hit Pearl Harbor, not the West Coast. The West Coast is where we did the majority of the repairing.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the
Other
main
than
thing.
those that couldn't make it to.
You think if we dropped a nuke these days, if we just label it F?
You know,
Dude, if there was a
It's
nuke
all
drop
shit,
these
boys.
days, I'm sorry, but we would all be dead. Mutually assured destruction would kick in, and we would literally obliterate the human race as a whole.
To be fair, the way everyone is, I don't think any of us would care. In the last 2 minutes of life we'd all be making fucking memes.
Memes. F in the chat, boys.
F in the chat, boys.
Rip Earth 2021.
funny of you to assume it'll be next year.
Bold of you to assume we have one more year.
I'd like to think we got at least one more good year in us.
Good year. This
Okay.
year's not going too good.
Speaking of good year, welcome to the sponsor. No, I'm joking. Brought to you by Goodyear Tires. That would be funny.
Get 5 brand new tires.
I actually do need to get some new tires at some point for my Jeep. I also need to rotate the tires on them too.
You ain't gotta rotate your tires if you got new tires.
Facts.
I mean, I guess.
Well, it's not a guess.
He's
it's
not
facts.
wrong.
You rotate your tires so you can get the good ones wherever the good ones need to be and the bad ones wherever the bad ones
Well, yeah.
to balance it out. So if
Mhm.
you get new tires, all you need is alignment.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying is that I need to get new tires, but that's probably not going to happen for a while, so I need to rotate my tires around just to make sure that because it's been like 6 months or so since I've rotated them, so it's been a minute. It has indeed been a minute. But no, what else I was going to talk about, we're going to move to a less serious topic. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Hell yeah, man!
You all have seen the trailer, and what's your all's initial hype or non-hype for it?
It was badass. It was a badass trailer.
I'm worried about it.
Okay. Worried about it? Badass. Tristan?
Dude, I haven't seen it. I haven't even beat Odyssey yet.
What?
Oh, stream it to the thing so we can watch it with you.
He is not going to play that right this second.
Yes, he is.
No, I don't think he is. Why are you worried about it, Carl?
Well, have you seen Origins and Odyssey?
Yeah.
Didn't go too good now, did it?
I think it's just because they changed up the formula for the game, which
Well, yeah, but this is also following that new formula.
they said they were actually
Hey,
going to
bro,
make it more.
I liked Origins and I'm enjoying Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of here, mister. I haven't watched it.
Well,
Bro, I've been enjoying it.
if he's enjoying it, and I enjoyed Origins and Odyssey too, I've at least enjoyed watching them. I haven't played them because I'm a broke-ass bitch, but a lot of the experience of video games is, at least getting to see the media being played, which is why streaming and, competitive gaming is so high, especially right now because, nobody's got anything to do. Oh man, I just realized I'm wearing that V-neck today. I can later on I'll do the titty stream where I just pull the V-neck all the way down. You know how they do it on them IRL just chatting.
Oh God,
streams.
please don't come out.
um.
I'm getting bugs for my lizards while I'm talking, and one of the bugs almost came out of the jar onto my lap, and it made me scared.
So wait, you have lizards. Are you like petrified of bugs or something?
No, I'm not
I
petrified
mean, I'm not
of them. I
petrified
just
of
don't
bugs,
want
but
them
I don't want
touching
them
me.
crawling all over me either.
They're like roaches, but they're dubious, so they don't really stink, and they can't infest your house. See?
Yeah, no, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I don't know.
Yeah, and then I have some mealworms that I'm mixing into. I'm about to go drop them in a second.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of having like reptiles of any kind as a pet. I think they're cool, out in the wild, and if people want to have them as a pet, that's fine, but it's just not for me. Not personally a fan of it. Same thing goes with
I used to
tarantulas.
feel bad for like keeping them, but at the same time, the ones I always get, they were already in captivity, so.
Hmm.
I feel like that's fair then. Because if they were already in captivity, they wouldn't be able to live on their own.
Okay, Carol Baskin. Uh, that's her whole premise. Is
I
that
haven't seen that.
That bitch, Carol Baskin.
so a quick
If I was to feed someone to a lion, I'd put sardine oil on him.
tiger, not a lion. Come on now.
Come on.
So the whole
Legit
premise,
called
the whole premise of the Tiger King show is there is a gay gun-toting, big cat-owning, zoo-running guy named Joe Exotic,
And he loves golden nuggets.
and he loves golden nuggets, and he runs his own, you know, quote-unquote zoo that's just full of tigers and other types of really big cats. He gets most of his staff as people who are, you know, they don't have anywhere else to go. At one point, he was married to two guys at the same time. And there's this woman that's endorsed by PETA named Carol Baskin. And she has been helping, you know, collect big cats and basically, quote unquote, save them from captivity and then put them in smaller, more confined captivity. Where this big cat may have been getting tons of attention, or at least some attention from their owners. Whenever they go to her farm, they get no interaction with humans anymore until they die. And then once they die, they are buried on the grounds that her rescue is founded on. So it's just one of those things where it's like, if the big cats are so dangerous that you want to take them away from people, which I understand, they're exotic and wild animals, they should be left out in the wild, then, you know, at least send them to a nature preserve or something along those lines where they can be reintroduced to their natural state instead of keeping them confined to that captivity that you find so bad for the cats. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like she's a hypocritical whenever it comes to it, because she also runs basically a zoo. She lets people in to see these big cats, and she's also endorsed by PETA. So you know that's a whole nother thing. PETA can go die in a fire.
Facts.
Facts indeed. Is there anything else that you all really want to talk about?
9/11.
I mean, we can. We'll start the fire. We'll get it going.
Alright, what do you want to talk about?
All right, Lalo, go for it. You're up.
So, do y'all think it was a controlled explosion?
No.
Which one?
The Twin Towers.
Which one?
Both.
Both of them?
Yeah.
Like I said, no.
I mean,
At least
I've
the
watched
first
a
one.
lot of videos, and there had to be someone on the inside somewhere. I don't know how, where, but yes.
But yes.
Now,
Bro, I love me a good conspiracy.
see, I don't think that it was a controlled explosion. Could it have been somebody on the inside that was, you know, working in collaboration with the hijackers? Sure, yeah. But I don't think that it was planned by the people that are, you know, our government. Yes, corrupt power, all that type of stuff. But at the same time, it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know,
I went there when I went to New York.
man, I really
I
want to
don't
go
know.
to New York.
Like their footprints, there's like little waterfalls and they're beautiful.
Yeah, I bet. I really want to go to New York. I want to go to a lot of places, actually. But what were you going to say, Tristan?
New York is awful. Like, no offense to, like, Asian people, but if you speak English and you watch this video, we all want to take pictures with the statues. Take your fucking turn. Make a line. Just wanted to take a picture with that bull on Wall Street, and I couldn't because all the Asians kept just going to it. Not waiting, just going.
Well, I
taking their
think the
picture.
issue was that you were waiting. You should have just put your way up there and then taken your picture and left.
Well, they were rude. Like, I tried after like 5 minutes, and one of them started yelling at me, and I don't know what they were speaking. I couldn't understand, but it made me anxious because I didn't understand them. And then I went to the bathroom. There's barely any bathrooms in New York. You have to wait in a long line, and I have my messed up stomach. So anyway, I finally make it in the bathroom. I got the shits because I didn't have my medicine. And some old Chinese man was staring at me through the little crack in the bathroom door, and I didn't know what to do because I was pooping. I couldn't really move or nothing, so I was like, oh.
I feel like I've learned a lot about you in just the past 1 minute of you talking.
Wow.
That is
Yeah.
a very wild situation to be in. That's
Yeah, and I rode a ferry to the
Statue of Liberty
island
to
with
Staten
the
Island.
Statue
That's
of Liberty.
badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Alright, someone else's turn.
Okay. Carl, since you haven't talked on it, what are your thoughts on the conspiracy behind 9/11?
There's evidence that suggests it might be a inside job, like with exposed the way the steel beam, quote unquote, broke or cut or whatever you believe in. But I don't want to believe that it was
An inside job.
our government doing it.
Yeah. And
I don't know anybody that wants to believe their government did that. Like, why would you want to believe your government did that?
yeah, because then at that point, you're basically never safe from anything.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss, as they say. I think I'm in the same boat where I don't want to believe it. Yeah, I know there's evidence that does point to it, but I know there's also a lot of counter evidence that points away from it, to where it was more of a attack on domestic soil instead of domestic violence towards a civilian.
Populace.
Yeah, thank you. I had a brain fart.
It happens.
But, ever since the dawn of basically everything, there's been conspiracy theories about whatever, whenever not all the facts are presented to the public. Or at least the public doesn't think that they have all the facts. There's one incident that I can think of in early American revolutionary history is there was a uprising of a bunch of soldiers who were loyal to George Washington against the Articles of Confederation, the first standard government that the colonies put themselves under. And they were going to march onto the capital, which I think was it was either Philadelphia or Boston at the time, whatever the capital was. They were going to march onto it and then put George Washington in charge and have him be the king. And George Washington supposedly talked them out of doing it and absolutely refused to be a tyrant king, which is what he was fighting against in the first place. It's the same kind of story.
Well, you got to look at that though. Is like a lot of those came from like they were under a monarch rule before, anyways.
Yeah, it just reminds me of you know how earlier we were talking about how history repeats itself. Well, there's an old Roman tale of a simple farmer called Cincinnatus who led some soldiers in battle, and then after having countless victories against Carthage, I think is who they were supposedly fighting at the time, he turned down the offer to become a Roman emperor and a Roman official. He just went back to a simple farm life and turned it down like one or two more times after that. So I feel like that is the American equivalent that was created to help push the idea that George Washington was, you know, the one of the best founding fathers that America had. Now, obviously, almost all the founding fathers owned slaves, and slavery is not, we know now, is not good in any right shape or form, whatever.
It was good back then, though.
At the time, it was practiced, and it.
Using the word "good" is not acceptable.
Yeah, I was about to say. At the time, it was
we had
practiced.
different
Saying
values. We had
it was
different values and
appropriate back
morals.
then.
They had work that needed to be done. We ain't got shit that needs to be done. It's already all done. They're the founding fathers for a
no.
reason.
Okay.
We have technology that got it done for us.
Okay.
Bro,
So,
we just abolished racism. Like, it's still a thing.
I was about to say.
I'm not saying
still
racism
exists.
isn't a thing.
I mean,
Not even close. It is 100% definitely still a thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
I mean,
the Supreme Court, I think it was like actually in 2014 or 2015, sometime before we graduated from high school, they were just like, yeah, so slavery is not racism is not an issue anymore. It's fine. We're fine. This country's fine. Racism is still absolutely rampant in the USA. Even in real estate, it's absolutely ridiculous that somebody who is non-white is not going to be able, or is going to have a harder time to move into a quote-unquote good neighborhood and, you know, be successful in that type of environment because of the prejudice that is held against people who aren't white.
Yeah, that's fucked up. I feel bad for people that aren't white.
Hey, wait a minute.
I already feel
Says the
bad for
white
myself.
man.
That goes without saying.
So have you experienced any of that type of prejudice, especially whenever you were trying to find, you know, your home and stuff, Lalo?
Well, this is Morgan's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I notice it a lot sometimes when I go to stores and stuff. Like, some people will just kind of give you a dirty look. Like, huh, you look kind of dirty, brown boy. But I've started to not care, so I'll just smile at them and kind of kill it with kindness.
That's good. I'm glad that you're using that type of approach to it, because there's a lot of people that do not use that approach, and in the long run it just winds up making it worse.
I mean, there's nothing I could really do, so I might as well just piss them off with kindness.
Yeah.
It's fair.
That is fair. That is very fair. That is a very good point. But yeah, it's just so... One of the things that I was going to talk about before we got on the whole racism tangent is how is it? Would you say it's unfair to hold people and historical figures of the past up to today's standards?
I don't think it is.
Okay, I'm sorry. You both talked at once, so I didn't hear what either one of you said.
Tristan, go first.
I think I said totally.
Okay, totally. And then Carl said he doesn't think it is. So,
No, I don't think so.
why do you say your side, Carl?
Well, how can you hold somebody to standards that weren't around then?
Well, yeah, that's
You know what I mean?
that's what I was saying. Is that like, is it unfair to hold historical people to the standards of today?
Well, that's why I said no.
Okay, so
How would it be fair, though?
well, it's because they lived in a different time. The culture was different. Even today, we experience different cultures all around. Heck, even the states. If you go from one state to the next, there's a totally different culture that you can be fully immersed into. And then on the other side of the world, obviously not every country has child labor laws, which is crushing, especially for a lot of children. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where to us it's wrong, because in our culture we know the value of a human life and the value of safety and prosperity for all, whereas in other cultures that may not be as prevalent. Instead, they're more focused on trying to better their specific community, and that's the way that they see the most fit to do it.
Right.
So am I agreeing with stuff that's being done? No. A lot of it needs to stop. a lot of it honestly does need to stop. But at the same time, it's one of those things where you have to take a step back and you're like, okay, I'm not from there. I don't know. I'm not from that specific time period. Yes, it was wrong to own human lives as quote-unquote property. That's terrible. That we just can't be treated as equals, because we all are equals. Oh, excuse me.
But still, there's still religion. There was still many different code of ethics and morals. Just everyone was like, eh.
Mm-hmm.
Because there were people that were like, no, I won't own slaves. They were they do it, but they give them freedom and pay them and treat them like a human being rather than, you know.
Yeah, and that's why I'm saying.
No, like, yes, it's a different time, but no, also at the same sense. There's always the knowing right from wrong. Rather, even if you were taught that wrong was right.
Yeah, there's that's another really cool concept that I had just saw a video on a couple days ago. It was humans are, as far as we know, the inherently evil creature. The only reason why that was said is because we have morality. We know right from wrong. And there are people that choose to do wrong. So it's the people that choose to do right that are more empowered by the stuff that they're supposed to be doing every day in a world where wrong is a lot easier and it's more tempting to do. Are you raising your hand, Lalo, or are you putting lotion on?
No, I'm just rubbing mine.
Oh, okay.
It itches.
I was like, why are you raising your hand?
My camera's done.
Hey, buddy.
But it's just,
I moved too fast.
it's one of those cool concepts that if you think about it, we are the only animal that has a sense of morality. Bunnies, they'll eat grass.
Well, isn't
and
it
they try to
fair
survive.
to say then that intelligence promotes being evil?
Okay, why would you go as far to say that?
Well, we are one of the most intelligent species of animal out there. And that would... Do you think that would be why we're inherently evil?
No, because dolphins are evil.
They rape people.
Now, I will say, I'm not saying that we are inherently evil. I'm just quoting what the video said.
Well, I'm referencing
I know what
that
you're saying
quote.
for the sake of the argument. I don't
It's
know.
all because Eve ate the apple.
Yeah, and
It's
ever
always
since,
fault. Jesus
guys
Christ,
always
let's just
catch
throw
the shit.
sexism in here too.
It's it is a really cool concept to think about, and there's kind of a thing that I was thinking about where it's weird that the human brain is attempting to study itself and its psychology and sociology and its physical attributes in order to determine what it is that makes humans the way we are. We know it's higher order processing, and we know we have this select level of intelligence that other creatures don't have, but there's still our brain is trying to understand itself, but the more it tries to understand itself, the more, I don't know, almost,
I get.
yeah, the more existential dread and depression that these people who seem to be studying the human psyche and intelligence seem to get. So it's one of those weird things where maybe we're not supposed to know how the brain functions, at least right now, because, you know, we're not supposed to understand it and have a future like Altered Carbon, which, by the way, great series, highly suggested.
Tim, you've been watching a lot of TV, haven't you?
Listen, man.
But Altered Carbon's like a totally different scenario.
It is.
I'm not making fun of
It
you.
is,
it's
but at
just
the
like-
same time, it's also kind
He
of
was
not.
a weapon for war.
Well, no. I'm just talking about the way that humans are. How our human consciousness could be confined to a stack, or I don't have my flash drive on me. Aha, or a flash drive that could just be where you could download your human consciousness and then take it out of one sleeve or a body and put it in another. That's what I was talking about. I was talking about how wild it would be if we understood consciousness to the point to where we could digitize it and then still reproduce the exact same person. And, you know, maybe we're not supposed to know that right now, which is why the brain is just like, I don't like learning about myself. I don't want to know more about myself. The more I learn, the more I get confused and hurt.
I named myself.
Oh shit. Oh god, it did. It did. The brain named itself. I have not thought about that. Oh, that's some existential crisis right there.
Yeah, and it's insecure because it doesn't like the way it looks.
That's why it hides in the skeleton all the time. But that...
I don't like thinking that the brain is like everything that I am, because, well, it's kind of badass, because then I'm like, damn, I'm basically in a flesh mech suit.
Alright, Diva.
A flesh what?
A flesh mech suit. That's... Yeah, that was the words.
That is what we are, flesh mech suits.
We're a fleshy biomass that is controlled by a fatty gray and white matter object that is extremely fragile and can and does experience auditory and visual hallucinations from time to time.
Is he the gooey Terminator?
Yeah.
The gooey Terminator?
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
not. I've
The
never-
one that's like liquid, not that goes
Oh.
against Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I got you. So the T, let's see, he was what, the T800, so it'd be the T900 that would be the liquid Terminator.
T1000.
T1000,
is the liquid Terminator.
Thank you, Carl. You and your movie knowledge. So yeah,
I gotta answer my phone. I'll be right back.
okay, buddy. Don't forget to mute yourself in Discord so we can't hear you.
I will.
So it is just really weird to think about that type of stuff, and I'm starting to get a headache a bit now just thinking about that. Okay, but
Big brain time, man.
oh no, I don't want to be.
Yeah,
I don't
big
want to
brain.
be big brained. I don't want to be big brained anymore, Dad.
Come over, we'll help you out.
We'll make you small brain.
Alcohol already does that to me. I cannot.
Oh, we get you drunk.
Yeah, we got that too.
I can get myself drunk too. I just haven't drank in a minute. Honestly, I feel like during this quarantine, this is the least amount I have drunk in a long time, which I feel like is good.
I haven't drank at all.
I
Yeah,
was about to say, I haven't drank at all this quarantine.
yeah. Which I mean, I feel like it's good, but at the same time, you know, I kind of want to drink every now and again. And then I'm just like, man, I don't have my Dr. Pepper, so I'm not gonna do that.
It's legit the only thing stopping me.
I feel that. So wait, Tristan, you've watched Altered Carbon?
Mm-hmm.
Have you watched season 2?
Alright,
I don't think.
Go ahead.
I don't think I'm done. I need
Oh,
to
okay.
go look.
Yeah, it's
so you were saying that it was completely different from how we are? I haven't watched it, but couldn't you say it's just a more advanced humanity then?
yeah, that's really all it is. But
Yeah, I'm only on episode 6.
he's talking about the main character, Takeshi Kovacs, who is an absolute badass of a character. Basically, his entire life he's been trained to fight for, or to like learn how to fight in this type of environment where, you know, people aren't dead unless you shoot them in the stack, because they can just re-sleeve or be put into a digitized world or whatever, something along those lines. And it's really
My
cool
cam stopped.
to watch that whole action thing, but then whenever you think about the practical science applications that are behind it, of like what if we did understand the concept of the consciousness enough to put it in a disc? Would this type of environment actually become of the future? We don't know because we're not there yet. Tristan's over there bopping.
I'm over here figuring out why my cam stopped.
Oh no.
That's my phone did.
Carl's webcam froze.
That's not good.
I'm listening. I'm cleaning a little while I'm participating.
Gross.
I actually do need to go and get my laundry back out here pretty soon, so.
Yeah, I gotta do laundry today too.
Yeah. Did Tristan's cam freeze too?
Oh, there it is.
Oh no, he was just sitting so still.
No,
This man.
he sits that still, bro.
You can't even see him.
Jesus.
He's just like Drax.
He's exactly
I
like
was gonna
Drax.
say that.
Oh
But I
man.
was moving so slow.
You were really good at sitting still. Oh my god. That is, every time I look over, I just see you sitting completely still, and it's amazing to look at that and be like, that is not a freeze frame. That is just him sitting that still. That is crazy.
It makes him uncomfortable. He's like, fuck off, Tristan. Just get out of here. We don't want you here anymore.
But is there anything else that you all really have or want to talk about right now? Because I'm kind of out of ideas due to this allergy medicine kicking my butt. I'm guessing you all could hear it. That's why my voice has been cracking so much, and I've been slurping on some water.
I got something you can slurp on. You ever had NyQuil?
that fucking laugh.
You ever have some NyQuil?
So I'm gonna take that as a no. I guess we don't have anything else we really want to talk about right now.
Apparently.
No, not that I know of.
Not that we know
That's
of.
like a thing of stuff off the dome.
Oh, okay. What about you, Carl?
Wow. Just shit on all of his ideas, I guess.
All right. Well, then I guess that's gonna be it for this one. It's
Well, I wasn't saying that.
what?
I don't know what to think about, but we're just over here just saying, nah, I don't know what to talk about. It almost sounds like everybody's trying to get out of it.
I know, dude. It really does. I mean, we're at the 53-minute or so mark, anyways. So we've had, we went an hour 27 on the first one. I think we kind of blew our creative load on that one for right now.
Creative load.
Yeah, our creative load. Have you all never experienced the blow on your creative load?
Oh, I've blown my load.
Okay,
before.
no, not that. Lalo. Yeah, we know. That's why you have a kid.
Yeah.
Got you.
All right.
Oh, well, my webcam don't work anymore, apparently.
All right. So since his webcam don't work anymore, we'll go ahead and end it off right now. Oh no. Gotta move myself.
I moved on you again.
You did. I was fast with it, but there's still gonna be a little bit of a break of the immersion right there. Like I said, my webcam is not actually on Discord. It is just the little blocks moving around back and forth. So, yeah, I guess that'll do it for this week's episode of the OGYS podcast. It has been your host, Justbearable. You can find me on Twitter at jbearable or on twitch.tv/justbearable. You can find Tristan, aka IxMitsuki, at IxMitsuki on Twitter or twitch.tv/IxMitsuki. And you're going to start up a YouTube channel soon, won't you? At least for like stream clips and highlights and stuff.
Yeah.
Same name, IxMitsuki.
Yes.
Cool.
He says, I hope so.
It's like, I really don't want to change the name. And then Salmanity at Salmanity with an ITEE at the end on Twitter. And twitch.tv/Salmanity. I'll be sure to leave all these in the description down below. And finally, we have Carl, aka Apollon1804, on Twitter at Apollon1804, and on Twitch at twitch.tv/Apollon1804. So, for right now, hopefully everybody will have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you all next time. Bye!
Bye.